Jesus.
And then
give me support
now
for
14-inch screen and a 16-inch. I was so surprised though because they made it a notch at the top, like the iPhones, and but they didn't put Face ID in there. So like the camera itself is better than their previous ones. Like looks like it's going to be pretty good, but they didn't put Face ID, which I was a little bit surprised by.
Yeah, I'm surprised. If they're gonna do that, might as well just put Face ID. You know?
Yeah, and it's a big notch for just like an ambient sensor and ambient light sensor in a camera.
I mean, they did the top bezels really, really thin though. That's why
they gotta have a reason to charge you $3,000 next year.
Send us a link to the case study.
Oh, we're live. We're live.
All right. Yo, we live. We did it. I fixed it, and thanks to you guys because I was going to give up, but you guys made me go through. We looked it up, so all right.
Oh yeah.
Matter of fact, let's start the show. Let me get my boom. What's up, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are the political junkies trying out something new. You notice a little difference. We trying out StreamYards right now, and hopefully we'll see how this works out, and we don't have any issues, any glitches, but there's always little glitches. But let me go around the horn, and first, let me be a good host and say what's up to our guests. We got our man Sass, who is a candidate in Texas, and we might have some breaking news on what district he has, because this whole time he wasn't sure because of redistricting. And then I have my man Juan Paredes in Florida, District 26. Am I right, Juan?
Yeah, that's right. Unless
District 26. Yes. So I'm going to show while they're talking. I'm going to show the website and all that good stuff. Let me go around the horn and say what's up to John, Carlito, Bendone. You know, Izzy is out right now, but I know he's listening. Gabe is out. But wish him the best. We'll see him in the future. All right, John, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I visited the great state of Florida this past weekend.
Okay. Then Juan's state. Nice. I totally was being sarcastic about great, but the great state. Oh, damn! Ouch. Okay, we'll get when we go to Juan.
Talk about nobody caring about anything out there, man. Like. I need to go get COVID tests when I come back.
Yeah, man. Are we contagious through the screen?
How you doing, my man? I can't hear you. You're muted, buddy.
I'm muted. I'm not muted.
No, you're not. He's not muted.
I can't hear him.
You hear me?
Yeah,
I
can hear you.
What?
Okay. I can hear everybody except for Carlito.
I heard Carlitos.
Actually, I think you muted Carlito.
Well, Carlito,
you muted me.
I muted Carlito. See, so Bendone. All right, let's go over to Bendone just for a second.
Carlito, you don't matter.
Damn, I can't hear Carlito. That's weird. So I can hear everybody else except for Carlito. That's really strange.
It's like StreamYards on the fritz.
Yeah, but okay. Anyway, I'm gonna have to keep it moving just to keep the show going. So let's go to Sass and let's talk about. Sass, they finally gave you a district. Let us know about that.
Yeah, I just sent you a link in the chat if you want to pull it up. So that's a tweet I made today. That's actually quote tweeting another tweet where I have like a nice screenshot of a map showing like old districts, new districts, and if we have that visual, that's going to help to understand what I'm talking about. So
yeah, I'm going to bring it up for you right now. There it is.
Okay, cool. So that was my tweet today. So Representative Lloyd Doggett, and so so this map. So let's just leave this on the screen for a little while. I'll walk you through it. Okay. So Texas in the last decade had 36 districts for the U.S. House of Representatives, and those are actually the red lines, which you can see. So they're a little bit different from what's underneath, but the red lines highlight that. And so Austin, the city of Austin, where I live, was split up into 5 different districts, like pretty ridiculously gerrymandered. And so Representative Lloyd Doggett and there was no district that was like solidly Austin. It was just all fragmented. And so Representative Lloyd Doggett was representing District 35, which you can see on there in orange, and you can see the red line. The red line was basically orange, but like plus a little bit more effectively. And so he's like longtime incumbent. He's been in office since like 95. He's like mostly pretty liked. But so you can see how that stretches from Austin all the way down to San Antonio. But so then
you said this orange one right here, right? This orange.
Yeah, the orange one. Now that's new. That's the new shape. The old shape is the red outline. That's kind of in the same area. You see like that little red 35. So the red
this
outline
35 right here.
One.
Yeah.
So that's where he was.
Bring it up.
Basically, Texas picked up 2 new seats. So they picked up. So now there are 37, 38 seats in the U.S. House. And so Austin has grown more than any other city in the country over the last decade. So like I knew there was going to be a brand new district in the Austin area. And my whole plan was to run in a brand new district with no incumbent, right? That was like a big thing is like, I don't want to run against an incumbent because it's just insane. I think it'd be good to keep the map up while I keep talking.
No, Sass, we don't want to talk about this thing the whole.
Okay, cool. I'll speed up. Okay, so basically what happened was like today, Lloyd Doggett was like, all right, I'm going to switch to 37, which is this new district that's like West Austin. I actually live in 37 now. Like I'm just a mile away from 35. And so he came out with that today, and he's got like 100 endorsements including from entities that like drew the map. So it's like, all right, this is probably going to stick then. We thought this might change, but it sounds like it's going to stick. So as of today, I'm declaring I'm going to run in Texas 35.
Texas 35, baby. Sass is in Texas 35.
Yeah.
It's official. And I'm going to bring up your website in a short. Let me see if I can bring it up.
So I haven't even updated my website yet. Like this is like 2-hour-old news. This is like very, very new. I haven't been able to do anything. I haven't changed my statement of candidacy yet.
Yeah. There he is, guys. Go to voteforsass.com, and that's 4FOR. Vote for Sass.
They can also use the number 4. I own both domains. They can go to Sass for Congress. They can go to votesass.com. They can go to sass2022.com. Those all redirect.
Yeah. So he's got a very nice platform. That's what I like to see. And of course, he's part of the People's Gauntlet. So I'm going to show his page also real quick. But let me go on. Thank you so much, Juan, Sass. And let me go to Juan. That's why I had Juan in my mind, so that Juan can just talk to the people real quick for me, my man.
Yeah, no problem. So for the people who haven't seen me when I was here last time, I'm running in Florida's 26th congressional district. Unless things change, it's entirely possible after the redistricting that some things might change and I might be running for a new district. But for now, it's definitely Florida's 26th. And I'm running against Carlos Jimenez, he was the ex-mayor of Miami. And he went through his maximum 2 terms and then ran for Congress and won in 2020. Of course, he is a Trump acolyte, the worst kind. He was promoting the January 6th insurrection. He has done nothing so far since he's been in Congress. He hasn't had a single town hall, hasn't spoke to anybody. He just hides away and just votes lockstep within party lines. And so he has no platform that is even approaching anything to improve any material conditions in anyone in Florida or the country at all. So those are the reasons why I'm running against him. So far the campaign has been going really good. I'm in knee deep in fundraising. I'm not accepting any corporate PACs, any super PACs, and I'm only accepting any kind of political action committee in very specific circumstances. I'm doing it mostly through individual donations. Political action committees, they have it's impossible to really know exactly where the money's coming from. The money is dark money. It's just a amalgamation of money from unknown sources. So unless it's a very specific type of PAC, for example, if a union votes and decides to support me through a PAC, that's something I would accept. That's something that I would agree with. But generally, I'm doing it primarily through individual donations to beat Carlos Jimenez in 2022.
Okay, cool, man. So let me just show, this is an example of a People's Gauntlet page right here. And I did show it last week real quick, but this is Sass. Why is that coming up? There we go. So this is Sass People's Gauntlet page, but I'm not going to stay too long. I'm going to keep the show moving. Hopefully,
I just gotta say one thing though. Like, when it comes to Sass's new district or the districts I saw in Texas, those are crazily drawn districts.
Yeah, those gerrymandered.
Those are like the worst districts I've ever seen. It's crazy.
We gotta fix that, man. We gotta fix that. Let me go to the chat real quick and send some love to Holly Horn. PJ Holly's in the building. PJ Neat is in the building. Aaliyah, I haven't seen you before, so much love to you. Who else is in the building? All for Nothing 388. All
Car-
right,
Car-
Rafael
Carli-
Rodriguez.
Carlitos is in the building,
Oh yeah, let me
like
get him
like
back.
in the back room.
There you go. Can you say something?
You hear me now?
Yes, I hear you now. I don't know what happened before, but I'm glad I can hear you now because we need you for the Carlitos rundown when we do those
question.
stories.
You want to take questions real quick? I think Rafael Rodriguez has a question in the chat.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to take questions. I have a question to Sass. How much of new people moving to Austin, Texas, affected the changes, especially Californians moving to the Austin area, and how soon you think Texas will turn blue?
Yeah, I mean, housing prices are out of control. Talked to a bunch of people who are like, this is obnoxious. We have these San Franciscans who are like paying cash at like 15% higher than list price. It's obnoxious. And now some of them are like turning back, and it's like it's a nightmare. And nobody, and it's like we're just sick of it. We don't like. There are enough Californians moving to Texas in the first place. I can't tell you how many Texans I've talked to who've been like, where I'm like, what do you care about? And they're like, don't California my Texas. I'm like, okay, I wasn't planning on it. And so, but like, yeah, it's like it's just weird. Everything is weird, right? It's a pandemic, and like a lot of like local businesses have shut down. Like, looks like they might not reopen. The thing of like Texas turning blue, like they thought Texas was going to turn blue in 2020. Dude, I live in Austin, and I was like, y'all are crazy. And let me tell you exactly what happened in 2020. All 10 serious Democratic challengers in 2020 for the U.S. House lost. The Senate challenge lost. And every state House and state Senate serious challenge lost. And we lost the president, and Democrats lost in the presidential race. Texas ain't turning blue anytime soon. Like, you know, especially with this new gerrymandering and the voter rights things. Like, yeah, it's like that's not the way we should be thinking about it. And it's because like the Democrats just generally like don't know how to talk to Texans. Yeah. Like, dude, you got to include people. You got to stop with this, just pushing people out because they don't identify with whatever thing. You have to bring solutions to the table that include all people. Like, that's what I'm doing. It's not about turning blue. It's about the people.
Good stuff. And I see, Alan or PJ Neat said exactly what you just said. He said, Texas ain't turning blue anytime soon. People left for that reason. So any other questions? Otherwise, let me hint our no calzone real quick. And the no calzone is going to be, would you rather keep Confederate statues or take them away to give a statue to Clarence Thomas? So we all know Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice. And would you rather have one statue of him or get rid of all the Confederate statues? So we're going to talk about that later. But as of right now, let's go into Carlitos' Carlitos rundown. Are you ready for me? Yeah, we don't do rapping anymore. All right,
let's start. Number one.
Yeah.
The NYPD is using drones the U.S. government claims threaten national security by Alice Sperry for the Intercept. So I've heard of DJI drones before, but I never knew the initial stood for Dajiang Innovations. So with that said, the New York City Police Department is buying and using them. Privacy concerns be darned, even though the U.S. military does not trust DJI specifically or any other Chinese-made drones. So Elsa Kanya, a fellow with the Technology and National Security Program at the Center for New American Security, spoke to The Intercept and explained why. According to her, China's national intelligence law includes the requirement that any Chinese company support the nation's intelligence work, which essentially could set the stage for the government to demand that a company like DJI turn data over or interject vulnerabilities into its products in ways that could benefit the Chinese government. So this concern is real enough that the Department of Homeland Security warned all departments about them. The U.S. Army said to stop using them, uninstall all DJI applications, and remove all batteries and storage media from them. The Defense Department issued a ban on all commercial off-the-shelf drones, regardless of manufacturer, due to cybersecurity concerns. And the Pentagon issued a memo reiterating that department officials believe DJI poses potential threats to national security. And yet, the NYPD thinks they know better. Now, Sass, would you even trust the NYPD to set up your Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I was reading over this, and I was like, I agree that the NYPD should not be getting drones. My focus, like, my reasoning for it is different, but like, I will say this: when you have the U.S. government concerned about like too much surveillance, like red flag, right? Like, holy crap! Of all the like, come on, they're saying it's too much surveillance. Like, come on. For me, the way I look at it is like, look, New York City has choices as to where they get to spend their money. Like, if they're trying to like protect and serve the people, they're better places they could spend the money. They could run a very serious basic income pilot. They could improve the public transportation and make sure their subways don't flood. Like, they could address all sorts of inequities and inequalities. Like, it's like, and also like just a slippery slope argument of like, when you see this kind of technology get implemented, it never ends up just staying just the good stuff. It always slips into the the stuff you don't want it to be. And like, that's exactly what will happen with this. This will absolutely end up being like over surveillance. And that it's just like, they don't need it. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. NYPD does not need these. And New York City should spend the money on something better. That's really all it comes down to. I don't think we need to get into crazy Chinese conspiracies about it. It's simpler than that.
Yeah. Well, the privacy concerns, it don't matter to them. So that if they don't care about that, at least maybe care about the Chinese spying. But the New York State Senate does have a bill that we're going to put more restrictions into the use of drones by law enforcement. So at least there's that.
I mean, like, there are a lot of laws about law enforcement that aren't followed. Right? Like the accountability measures aren't there. The Department of Justice isn't empowered. A lot of, what are they called? The Department of Internal Affairs are like, or whatever it's called, like, are internal, like within police, like they should be external. Like, the accountability measures are not there. It's like, we got to hit that first before we can start talking about like implementing more laws. We have to be able to enforce them. So
from the chat, we have Rafael Rodriguez saying, who needs government surveillance when you can have a 13-year-old and a smartphone?
Right.
Alan saying, this WMD is real gas, though. So, yeah, I mean, if you won't believe it. And Aliyah said, yet we are fear-mongering into believing what China does to the citizens is bad. Right.
We put way too much energy into China. Like, guys, we got so much crap to deal with here. We have no moral ground to stand on any issue. Like, this isn't a promotion of China. Like, it's just like, oh my God, we're not going to get anywhere if we keep talking about China all day long. Like,
notice how the conflicts with China are happening in the South China Sea and not at the coast of California. We're going over there too. Then we're at the aggressive posture.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I get the argument of like all of our chips come from Taiwan, and so like, we already have a chip shortage. Like, I get that argument, but like, again, it's like, this kind of stuff, when we like bring China into it, I just see it as a distraction. And I think that's going to be like the theme with like a lot of the headlines that we're going to go over today is like, this shit's a distraction. It's not what we should be focused on, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah. I just want to say real quick, Holly Horn said police departments get more military equipment than they'll ever need/use.
Yeah, they have more than enough. Exactly. They don't need more.
And recently I saw they have the that little drone dog that looks dystopian that start walking around. They have that. I was trying to
they gave a robot a gun.
Yeah.
With all these police going to resign because of the mandate, they'll have way more than enough equipment, right?
Man, they're not going to resign.
I hope so.
They're going to be just fine.
It's like that Boston story from Boston, and it was only one.
Maybe they'll stop responding to 911 calls from women who are trying to get black people arrested because they're like walking their dog in the park or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they can actually prioritize like real crime.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of wish they would resign because that's the kind of cops that don't want around anyway.
That's how you can defund the police through the COVID pandemic.
All right, next story.
Yeah.
The top 1% of Americans have taken $50 trillion from the bottom 90%, and this made the U.S. less secure, by Nick Hanauer and David M. Rolfe at Time.com. According to a groundbreaking new working paper by Carter C. Price and Catherine Edwards of the RAND Corporation, had the more equitable income distributions of the 3 decades following World War II, 1945 through 1974, merely held steady, the aggregate annual income of Americans earning below the 90th percentile will have been $2.5 trillion higher in the year 2018 alone. This is an amount equal to nearly 12% of GDP, enough to more than double median income, enough to pay every single working American in the bottom 9 decile an additional $1,144 a month every month, every single year, an estimated $50 trillion by 2020. So one example they gave, if it followed the pre-1975 pattern, a median income of $36,000 will really be up to about $66,000 today. In 2018, the combined income of married households with 2 full-time workers was barely more than that income of a single earner household will have earned had the inequality held constant. And the reason is not automation. These numbers are strictly internal to the U.S. economy. It's not the skills gap either. College graduates are still making less than they would otherwise. So why is it? So I'll give you one guess, Juan, but you must answer without using the word greed.
No, what it is a continuation of the neoliberal policy that ushered in after the end of the Bretton Woods system that collapsed at around 1973, 1974. They purposely hollowed out the United States manufacturing industry, and they moved all the jobs over to China to stay competitive globally. Companies did that. And then afterwards, they because the wages were stagnant and being driven down, actually, people couldn't afford the products that they were making or that they were importing actually from China. So Reagan decided to give everybody personal credit, so that way they can increase purchasing power and give everybody personal debt. But then that added a band-aid. It extended the issue to a later date, but it's not going to solve anything. The problem is that the wages are stagnant. People have nothing and no money to buy anything with. They're maintaining the consumption economy by making everybody just have personal debt and shackling them to a lifetime of working it off. And then, of course, there's other ways of student debt to lower the purchasing power or the wages of people by diminishing their purchasing power by making them have student debt if they're going to high skilled labor. So like you said, even if they have high skilled jobs, they weren't making as much as they would have anyway, and that's a big contributor is because they have student debt. Not just also the wages, they also are stagnant as well. So it's actually diminished more than that. It's not stagnant. It's actually diminished because of the student loan debt. This is going to continue on because it's a political thing. It's not. It's something that we allow. It's not like you said. It's not the economy. It's something that's political. Something that we allow to happen because there's no protection for workers. There's no way for workers to have any kind of influence over these companies. If Alan Greenspan said himself, he was the head of the Federal Reserve. He said himself that one of the reasons for the 2008 crash to bounce back, one of the primary reasons was worker insecurity. That worker insecurity allowed companies to basically drive down wages and to prevent benefits without workers fighting back because they were insecure about losing their jobs. They were insecure about being able to find a new job because they were being imported over to China or they were being exported to China, and that contributed heavily to the economy bouncing back. But like I said, it's a band-aid. It's going to last for so long, and you're going to be in a worse position afterwards because now you're in a house of cards. You're hollowed out. You have nothing. You have no real substance.
All right, you're a good politician because you said greed without saying greed, so you worked around it. So that's good. That's good. So Alan said, "Watch how you speak on this, Carlito. John is watching you closely." So, so everything you said, Juan, is correct, with the exception of the sending the manufacturing jobs overseas. They took that into account. That made it worse, of course. Okay. But in this particular study, they didn't count that. They only counted everything internal for basically trickle-down economics. They said, we chose to cut taxes on billionaires and to deregulate the financial industry. We chose to allow CEOs to manipulate share prices through stock buybacks and to lavishly reward themselves with the proceeds. We chose to permit giant corporations through mergers and acquisitions to accumulate the vast monopoly power necessary to dictate both prices charged and wages paid, what you're talking about, basically driving down the wages. We chose to erode the minimum wage and the overtime threshold and the bargaining power of labor. For 4 decades, we chose to elect political leaders to put the material interests of the rich and powerful above those of the American people. And if you look at this time frame, that's about the same time that the union membership started to decline. So, it's a you know, say correlation, not causation, but I think is a big part of it right there.
Yeah, and the primary cause of it is the fact that we allow corporations to have infinite money being invested into political campaigns. Not directly, technically, they're not directly, but I mean, it's hard to enforce that anyway. But even if you could enforce it, they're still able to invest unlimited amount of money in promoting whatever candidate they want, diminishing the voice of everybody else. Because if your voice equals how much money you have, there's 50 people who have as much money as the rest of the United States combined. So, I mean, if your voice depends on how much money you have, your voice is greatly diminished.
Well, it's just that this politician been there forever and they become millionaires. So it's like millionaires are making the laws. Yeah. So how if you're a millionaire and I'm making the law, I'm not gonna make the law to take money away from
they actually just write the laws. They don't even write the laws. They just sign them. They don't even make them. They're given the laws are handed to them. They just sign it away.
By lobbyists. Exactly.
You know,
like not APAC. I'm trying to think of that. Alec. Thank you, sir. That Alec just literally gives it to them. They just copy and paste it and sign it into law. All right, let's move on.
You're getting backstabbed in the chat, John, because when you said, I wish I had that kind of money, but don't say, I think John owns a minority stake in a coal factory in Virginia.
Oh,
he's confusing. He you know, he got that UConn education. He can't differentiate West Virginia and Virginia. So.
Ouch. All right, let's move on.
Yo, but don't shout out UConn real quick. Well, not UConn, but Connecticut said they had the highest vaccination rates in children.
Let's go.
Like 82% or 85%, something like that.
And Joe Biden visited us. And kid children.
I don't think that's a good thing, though. I don't think. All right, next story. Auditor demands Brett Favre return $882,000 in illegally spent welfare funds by Ashton Pittman at the Mississippi Press. The famed quarterback, a Mississippi native, received $1.1 million in funds from two nonprofits whose founder has since been indicted on state and federal charges for their alleged role in the largest embezzlement scheme in state history. Money that was supposed to go to temporary assistance for needy families, aka food stamps, instead went to pay Brett Favre for speeches. He said he didn't know there was anything wrong with the money he got paid, except we know he's lying. How do we know? He never get the speeches and got paid anyway. So you know something's up. He knew it was shady. And that's why he went to jail. Oh, no, wait. They're just asking for the money back and he could go about his merry way. So what do you think will happen if a poor person stole, I don't know, $100 of food stamps, let alone $1 million, John?
They're going to lock him under the prison.
You know, we talked about, what is it, that voter, again, in the one great state of Texas, right? She didn't know she could vote. And she voted and she locked up. You know what I mean? So we know all this. We talked about it in the show before when it comes to all those parents that pay for their kids to go to school and they just got like a little slap in the face, in the hands and say, oh, pay this fine, do this for 6 months, get out early, you're good to go. So we know how the system is created, right? So he probably won't even pay it back. They probably just say, oh, let's agree on a $30,000 or something. And the IRS will talk about how, how they worked the deal and how great it was. So we know how the system works.
Yeah. I remember a story where somebody stole like a candy bar and he went to prison for years upon years just for like something silly as that. Shout out to Robert Wilson real quick. Much love. But go ahead, Carly.
Yeah, Neat said that they didn't need means stances to give that millionaire that money, huh?
That means testing, testing,
another thing that I wanted to point out, if you guys remember any WWF back then, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Well, he has a Christian ministry, Heart of David Ministries. He has to pay back $722,000 because he also took money from needy kids. His son, Ted DiBiase Jr., also retired wrestler, owes $3.9 million. His other son owns $225,000, and then there's Nancy New and Zach New, her son. They basically run private schools, and they stole money too, including money that was supposed to go to like mishandled voucher money. So it's all about.
Do you know how they found them out? They
had to do a federal audit. Well, they do an investigation. They did an internal investigation and did a federal audit. The head of the health department, I forgot the name of the agency in Mississippi, he's actually facing charges right now. So it was an inside job, I guess, helping out his people. The Nancy Noon, her family are heavy contributors to Republicans in the state of Mississippi. They were close to the governor. They were finding some kind of scheme. And then the governor returned them. When they found out, the governor returned the money and said, we had nothing to do with it. We don't know anything they were doing. But she gave him money. So, yeah.
The rules of the U.S. system.
Interesting.
We have rules for thee, but not for me.
That's how it is.
Exactly.
That's how it is. All right, let's go on to the next one.
The next story. Xavier Beczera could lower drug prices. So why isn't he? By Walker Brackman, Julia Rocca, Daily Poster. The Bayh-Dole Act of 1980 gave federal agencies something called march-in rights. This is the power under special circumstances to license patented products to other manufacturers if they were developed with government funding, including when actions are necessary because the contractor or assignee has not taken or is not expected to take within a reasonable time effective steps to achieve practical application, blah, 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 blah. Basically, it's too damn high. Prices too damn high. Nobody else could make it. They have a monopoly, and it's hurting the citizens. So when Beczera was California's Attorney General, he signed a letter with other state AGs urging Donald Trump to use march-in rights for remdesivir in order to treat COVID patients. Now that Beczera is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, he can do just that for a number of drugs. So why hasn't he? Can you use... Now, I want you to tell me why, Sass, without using the word lobbyist.
Because he works for the government. No, no. I mean, it just comes down to obviously, his interests have changed as he's gone in with the big boys, and this is my whole thing about we need real systems of accountability from the people to hold the government accountable. And I won't get into my whole pitch about that. You can check it on my website, but yeah, man, this is what happens when we have fundamentally broken systems and mechanics, and it's gonna take effort from the people to fix this shit. It's not all gonna be in the people who are in government. It's absolutely also gonna have to be real effort from the people.
Yeah, now 100%.
So what's that website? You mentioned a website. What website is that?
Voteforsass.com.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Nice. Yeah.
But it's also Joe Biden campaign and talk about lowering the price of prescription drugs. The guy that he pointed is completely the opposite of that, because he's just like you said, he's playing with the big boys.
Look, I think a public option is doomed to fail, but he campaigned on public option. Where is it? Where is it at? He promised it. I think it's doomed to fail ultimately, but it's better than nothing. Where is it?
You could say that about a lot of things. Well, where is it? You said you were going to do this thing. Yeah. Where is it?
We see that he wasn't serious about the things that he proposed. I think it's really Bernie that kind of pushed, and they had all those different, I forgot those committees that they had to try to come up with the legislation. And now you see that the progressives with that $3.5 trillion bill, they're the ones pushing it more than the president himself. I just clipped a clip today of Morning Joe was going in and asking, progressives, what do you want? Do you prefer to have something or nothing? Right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, the moderates are the ones holding up the bill. Joe Biden is a moderate. And here's Morning Joe, who's a conservative, saying that the progressives should help pass this, just pass anything to help another moderate, the person in Virginia in John State, that's running as a Democrat. I can't. What's his name? You know his name, John? The governor that's running, Terry. Terry's been saying, "Hey, can you guys pass anything?" Right? So you want a progressive to help a moderate who is being held up by other moderates. Let the moderates decide themselves to fix their issue. That's how I feel about it.
So Alex said, "Agree he should use the marching rights, but I can already hear the opponent screaming communism."
Mm-hmm. So a lot of this comes down to House rules and Senate rules, and it's been we're just at the point now where it is just so incredibly partisan. In the last 3 years, there's not been a single piece of legislation brought to the floor for a vote that was presented by a freshman.
Wow.
And it's like over the last 6 to 7 years is how it is like degraded. Like it started with Paul Ryan, but Nancy Pelosi has accelerated it. And like this was always the plan. Like this is just part of how party elites continue to take control and keep control. And it's like, dude, it comes down to like, what does Nancy Pelosi want? What does Kevin McCarthy want? What does Chuck Schumer want? What does Mitch McConnell want? And you know, and as we saw with all those like corporate executives who complained to Mitch McConnell about like, hey, you need to raise the debt ceiling. What did he do? Oh yeah, we're gonna turn around and raise the debt ceiling now. Like he just wants whatever his like rich donors. I mean, like he just wants to stay in power. And so,
also
like,
they're gonna call you a communist if you're a Democrat, no matter what you do. It's just gonna be, they're gonna do it no matter what. You could be the most moderate person in the world. Look at Joe Biden. They're gonna call you a communist, socialist, whatever, no matter what. So
they are building this drug with government money. You give them the patent, you give them everything. So it's like you give them the money to do everything, and then they like, sorry, we're gonna charge you $700.
The misinformation that like these pharmaceutical companies are inventing new drugs, like no, they're not. Those are made in federal labs and universities. Like, and it's like, you know, how do we, you know, combating that misinformation just comes down to like, all right, well now we all have echo chambers and everything's data and like, okay, so how do we actually get that information across? And like, again, that's a thing that's on my platform. You can check out voteforsass.com. But like, yeah, for real, like there's a certain degree of just like, don't expect a solution to come from party elites. It's never going to.
No.
I mean, 90% of the tech that comes in this is from U.S. investment. Like, do you think the GPS in here, the internet that you use, everything that 90% of the phone that comes from the phone, you think that companies made it? No, they improved upon it after the government created the technology.
Everything to do with storage and transfer speeds, that all comes from astronomers. Like camera technology, all of that is astronomers who are like, we need better cameras, we need higher transfer speeds, better data speeds, more storage. Like all that investment happens for it's like comes from effectively federal funding is where that basic research is done.
The internet came from DARPA
into private companies for sure.
So here are two people that we would love to get in the office. You hear how they're talking about the issues? Juan and Sass, that's what I'm talking about. Let me just say what Aaliyah said real quick. Honestly, the way these state Dems are playing in my state, I want to go back to Republicans. Before the early 2000s, they made good social changes at a time when people were tired of their BS. Where are you from, Aaliyah? Let us know what state.
Virginia.
Carlos,
Virginia.
let's put it.
She's from
Virginia. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, man. But do we want Virginia to go back to Republicans?
I mean, it's not like I don't think either the Democrats or the Republicans are going to do anything for them at this point. Like both parties have just crumbled so far.
All right, so since we're on the topic, I want to ask you guys real quick, and then we'll move on. Right. So in the left ecosystem, there's vote blue no matter who. Then there's people that say only vote third party, and we're done with the duopoly. We're done with everybody. And then I'm not going to lead the witness. I won't say where I'm at with this, but let me go with Juan. Actually, Juan is running as a Democrat. Let me go with Sass because I'm pretty sure I know what Juan is going to say. But Sass, what do you think about that?
Yeah, Texas 35 is like plus 50 Democrats, so I will be registering as a Democrat.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Just putting that out there, but that's because I'm running to win.
Okay.
And like it's the only way I can win. But yeah, I mean, you were talking about the fundamental problem is vote splitting. So our current choose one only voting method, where you can only mark a bubble next to one candidate, that always inevitably trends toward a two-party system. It's unavoidable. It's the math of the method, not a vice of the voters or a crime of the candidates. It's unavoidable. But we can change it. So particularly star voting and approval voting, I advocate for both of those. Again, voteforsass.com. You can learn more about it. But I mean, those are what they do is they eliminate vote splitting. So vote splitting is when you have a bunch of similar voters split their vote between two similar candidates, then allowing a third candidate who they all dislike to end up winning, even though they shouldn't have. And so if you have
a good example, go ahead, finish. Oh, I was going to say real quick, Sass. I'm sorry. A good example of that is in Bernie's state. Why I can't think of Bernie Sanders?
Burlington,
Vermont, because their governor, and that's a super blue, or I can't say super, but it is a blue state, and they've vote split and allowed a Republican to get in there in the past. But also, I'm going to give it back to Sass, and then also this is a perfect opportunity for you to give us our 1-minute spiel on star voting, but continue talking and then talk about star voting.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. So effectively, like it's down to the mechanics, right? And so star voting, approval voting, among others, there are a lot of voting methods. Those are the two primary recommendations. They get rid of this mechanical problem that then allow you to actually support multiple candidates at the same time, which will allow us to get outside of this duopoly. So star voting, approval voting, what are they? Star voting, STAR is an acronym. It stands for score, then automatic runoff. That's exactly how it works. You score each candidate on your ballot from 0 to 5, up to 5 stars, independently of each other. You add up all the scores for all the candidates. The 2 candidates with the highest scores become finalists who go on to the automatic runoff. So you don't have to vote again, it's automatic. Then what happens in the automatic runoff is whichever of those 2 finalists you scored higher on your ballot, that finalist gets your 1 full vote. Whichever finalist gets the most votes wins. This was invented in 2014. It's the ultimate culmination of modern voting science. It maximizes on simplicity, expression, accuracy, equality, and honesty. And again, I'm not going to get into all the science of that, but that's really great. And then there's also another voting method that is comically simple, approval voting. It's nothing more than changing the instructions on the ballot from choose one to choose one or more. So instead of bubbling in next to one candidate, you can bubble in next to as many candidates as you like, or all the candidates you approve of. You add up all the approvals, whoever is the most approved candidate wins. And this flips our voting and our politics and all of our dynamics from polarity to consensus, right? So instead of reinforcing this idea that we can only support one set of ideas or one candidate at a time, it's working together to build consensus and find the thing that works the best for the most people. And so again, it's down to the math of the method. This is a ground up reform like marijuana legalization and marriage equality. Again, voteforsass.com. You can find out more.
And then, I just want to ask you why you don't like ranked choice voting, because explain that.
It is a ranked choice voting. It's just a type of ranked choice voting.
No, it's not. Ranked choice voting is a terrible voting method, just like our choose one voting method. They're both terrible. Ranked choice instant runoff voting is worse. It also trends toward a duopoly for the same reason. In each discrete instant runoff round, you can only support a single candidate at a time. So it has the same exact vote splitting effect. But there are other problems that it brings up where like ranking a candidate higher can hurt them, ranking a candidate lower can help them. Things can backfire. Just simply voting in an election can actually backfire on you. That happened to Republicans in Burlington, Vermont. And I'm not going to get into the details of that right now. You also lose something called precinct summability. So what that means is tabulation needs to be centralized to a single point of failure. We just saw this happen in New York City, where currently, the way we currently vote, and with most other single winner voting methods, each precinct can individually report results to the media and publicly, and then anybody anywhere can add up the results. But in New York City, they had to centralize all of the ballots to a single point of failure, which just so happened to be a board of elections with a history of failure. And it was a mess. And imagine for a longstanding military and economic superpower where most people across the world care more about our elections than they do about their own. Election security is vital. That decentralization is incredibly important. So you don't want a voting method that's going to further entrench duopoly. It actually also takes away power from minor parties because their votes will either transfer or be exhausted and won't be included in the final tally. Whereas right now they have a little bit of leverage over major parties that will be lost. And you lose election security. So it's actually a step backwards. You do not want ranked choice instant runoff voting. It's a terrible method. Again, go to my site. You can learn more about it. But star voting and approval voting are the 2 primary recommendations for the United States right now.
Yeah, so Sass told us about the site starvoting.us, and there's a link that says the science, and over there they get more into it and talk about comparing it to ranked choice voting as well. So this is pretty interesting. I never heard of this until I saw Sass on the People's Gauntlet. So
peoplesgauntlet.com.
Right. So but don't say math is hard.
I would argue that ranked choice voting is pretty broad.
I'm actively working to make these concepts more accessible and easier to understand. So I've got TikTok series I made on ranked choice voting and approval voting. I got another one on star voting in the works. It should be coming out soon. Electionscience.org for approval voting, and starvoting.us and equal.vote both support star voting. The Equal Vote Coalition is kind of the parent organization for the star voting action. And I also had an interview with the chair of the Center for Election Science and the executive director of the Equal Vote Coalition and Started Voting Action on my own YouTube channel. So you can check that out. You can learn more about their stances and where they're at and what's happening in that space. It's really, really exciting space right now.
What's the name of your YouTube channel, Sass?
It's just Sass for Congress right now. I don't have a custom link because I don't have 100 subscribers yet. So go to my YouTube channel, just search Sass for Congress. You'll find it. Just give me a subscribe, and then once I have 100 subscribers, I can get a custom URL, which will be sweet. But yeah, just search Sass for Congress.
Sass for Congress. Okay. I want to give Juan the floor real quick because I think you had a question. Because I honestly, before I let Juan talk, on the People's Gauntlet, there's ranked choice voting. So I'm thinking, like everybody else, ranked choice voting is a good way to, break the duopoly. So I interview Sass, or we do that topic, and he just blows it out the water. Like I'm like, wow, okay, he really makes a great argument. I'm not really down for the other one, the representative, or I forgot the
approval voting. I know you like your expression, and that's totally fair. Some people value the simplicity, some people value the expression, and I've got an option for both.
Yeah, for simpler elections, that's fine, whatever. But like at the presidential election, I don't like the fact that you could put Bernie and Elizabeth Warren almost at the same level or whatever. Anyway, but I really like.
What's the other one you mentioned other than star voting?
Approval voting. So approval voting is the simplest change. It's actually simpler than our current system. Our current system has a restriction. So your vote consists of all the candidates you support and don't support and their levels of support or whatever. That's your whole vote. And right now we have this weird restriction that says you're only allowed to support one candidate, but your vote consists of your level of support for every single candidate altogether. That's what your ballot is. And so approval voting removes that restriction and says you're able to show whether you support or don't support each candidate. So it's actually simpler than our current system. That's all it is. So choose one voting is very restrictive, right? And Juan was getting at this earlier when he was talking about the power of the dollar in politics is increasing in relation to the power of the vote. Decreasing the power of the dollar in politics directly is very difficult, but we can increase the power of our vote by unlocking it with things like approval voting and star voting. And because it's a ground up reform, we can actually do it. Like I said, I compared it to marriage equality and marijuana legalization, which are real things happening and they're very people powered. And so like that's how we do this for sure.
All right. Let me give the Juan the floor. Go ahead, Juan, if you have any questions.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think star voting has a really good alternative, like a really good outcome. But I would argue that like ranked choice voting itself is very broad and has different methods that you can use. One being single transfer vote, which actually has a lot of the same benefits as, for example, like star voting, that where it's not a single candidate you're voting for three candidates instead of one for one district, and so three candidates will represent one district. And how the candidates win is that they have to get equal amount of points of 100% divided by the amount of candidates. So they have to get 33% of the vote. So if one person reaches past that amount, then the overage will be transferred to the second choice of that person, and if that candidate passes the amount, the overage would be transferred to the third choice. So it reduces like waste, so that way you can't overvote, and if people undervote, then those votes will be expelled to the next person under them. So it has a lot of the same benefits.
No, it doesn't.
Without, and it's also mathematically impossible to gerrymander using single transfer.
No, that's also not true. You're comparing apples to oranges. You're talking about proportional voting. You're talking about multi-winner. I was talking about single winner methods. There is a multi-winner star voting. There is a proportional star voting that actually satisfy one person, one vote. It's called vote unitarity. Single transferable vote actually overweighs votes from majority and underweighs votes from minorities, and still gives majorities more power than they're supposed to have. It was the best we had for proportional representation for a long time, but with modern voting science, it really doesn't hold up. We also have proportional versions of approval voting as well that also do better. But all three of those methods still have the same problem of none of them are precinct summable, which is that election security problem I was talking about earlier. And there are some really, really bleeding edge advancements in proportional representation that are precinct summable, specifically place voting, developed by Jameson Quinn, who went to Harvard to get a PhD in statistics in order to advance voting science. That is precinct summable and still is actually proportional. Like there's so much more in this space. I will say STV is better than single winner ranked choice instant runoff voting for sure. but it's still transferred duopoly rule, as we see in Australia, as we see in Malta, as we see in Ireland. They are de facto two-party systems. So like, I just really want to highlight, like, the science here is like, whatever Fair Vote is telling you, don't trust it. They have been around for nearly 30 years. They have more money than they know what to do with. They have tons of donors, and they're everything they talk about was based on science that we didn't have back then, that we didn't know that those systems weren't good. We have much better systems now, and we now understand that those systems were worse than we used to think they were. And they've also massively simplified their messaging to make it more palatable for people, but it's turned from a simplification to just outright lies, which is very unfortunate.
Wow. All right.
How exactly does single transfer vote?
Hold on, John Juan. I'm sorry, but we just spent a chunk of time on this topic.
All right. But let me end it for you real quick, because I did a quick search for you in Jersey. There's a couple of bills considering some form of ranked choice voting promoted by Fair Vote, but they're kind of, there's people here. There was an op-ed by Lindsay Cormack. I don't know who it is, but they're pushing for the other which one was it?
Approval voting.
Approval voting. They're pushing for approval voting in New Jersey. They said that it's already been used in St. Louis, Missouri, and Fargo, North Dakota.
Yep.
And finally, I want to shout out All for Nothing. Send this with the super chat. Said, love what you guys do to keep up the exchange of ideas and information. So thank you for that.
Thanks for the super chat, All for Nothing. Appreciate that. And PJ Nee said he's really enjoying discussion. John said he's enjoying the discussion. So I'm enjoying the discussion. I just didn't want, I didn't know if people were getting bored out there, because, man, this is getting real detailed, which I love. I love the.
Yo, Alan said this is the length of an old rapid fire.
Exactly. So, I'm gonna let Juan, if you have one last thing to say on this, just because people in the chat was like, they're loving the discussion. So let you say one last thing, and then I'm gonna move on as we end the show.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say that I still don't understand exactly how the majority vote is still overrepresented and the minority vote is underrepresented if the overages are still divided away by cutting off those who exceed the amount necessary to win. You can only get the amount absolutely necessary to win through depending on how many people are running in the district. And then once you exceed that amount, then those are divided to the candidates that they selected second and third. They don't waste votes by allowing people to get overages, because those overages are then divided amongst other candidates who they selected as their second and third choice. So I don't exactly see necessarily how they're still being overrepresented in the majority.
Because the math is being done wrong. That's why they're using a droop quota. I won't get into it right now, but I suggest looking up vote unitarity. It's going to be kind of technical, but vote unitarity will explain it. That's what it's about. Right. And that's a very recent concept that was invented in I think 2020, that we only understood the math very recently. But we now understand that single transferable vote overweighs votes, reduced range voting underweighs votes. And so now we have systems that actually weigh votes and give everybody one full amount of representation. Again, I won't get into it right now, but vote unitarity.
Of course.
So Sterling W in the chat said, I know nothing on the topic, but I'm just glad there are alternatives. So remember, startvoting.us. There's the science one. There's electionscience.org, talks about approval voting. So you could guys go over there and check them out. I know I will, because I want to learn about this stuff some more.
All right, so let's go to No Calzone, because I want to actually, let's see if this is a pretty easy one. Wait, Case. I can't let Bedon go by, his comment. He's dissing Gabe on the chat over here. Before, when Aaliyah was talking about marijuana got legalized in our state, but it's going to be run by the Alcohol Beverage Control, same as liquor stores. And Bedon saying, sounds like something Gabe would do.
No. My comment was more when Sass said he was going to vote, register as a Republican, since Gabe is our blank Republican.
Or I forgot what he said.
He's a socialist Republican, something along that.
Is that an oxymoron?
Yeah, he's trying to. He thinks he could run as a Trojan horse. Go for Republicans and trick them into progressive policies. A lot of times they do like them, but they just don't like it when it's a Democrat saying it.
Hey, just because we're on this topic, so the new People's Gauntlets website is going to have a candidates page where people are going to be able to search for their, People's Gauntlet candidate in their state, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to split it by party, right? So you can have a Democrat doing the People's Gauntlet. You can have a Green Party, socialist, but also a Republican can do the People's Gauntlet. So people could think and say, hey, why would a Republican care about the People's Gauntlet, which is basically left ideas, left topics? But you can say Medicare for all is a conservative solution because it's cheaper than the system we have right now. You're going to save money with Medicare for all. So if we can get, if Dave, who runs as a progressive Republican, if that's the thing, and if he gives that argument, then he could successfully probably win the endorsement of a People's Gauntlet. If the district is really red, I will go with that caveat. If it's super, super red and there's no chance of a Democrat winning there, then I would love for a progressive Republican to run with that ideology.
I don't disagree that Republicans want the same things. Like everybody wants their material conditions to be improved. It's just that the Republican side of the political battle has a lot more centralized propaganda. And it's gonna be hard to overcome that as a Republican. They're gonna stomp on you hard.
Yeah, they're gonna say communism, socialism,
or they bring up the pro-choice, pro-life topic. I'm sure that would be a tough one too. All right, so let's go to that note, Calzone. We got 4 minutes left. So would you rather keep all the Confederate statues that you have right now,
right, or
would you rather have Clarence Thomas statue?
So this is something that they were discussing here in Georgia. Clarence Thomas is from Georgia, and they, I guess, I don't know if it's all Confederate statues. I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but they want to have in addition, like we'll take some of these down. We're going to put up one of Clarence Thomas because he's like, hey, he's a black guy. He's a Supreme Court justice, from Georgia. Never mind his actual, policies or whatever. And there are some Democrats that said, you know what? I'd rather keep them. Just keep the Confederate ones. I don't want nothing with Clarence Thomas up here. So I don't know what people think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say Clarence Thomas is worse than Confederates. Like that's a little bit too far. But I mean, he walks in lockstep with the Republican Party. He was appointed by H.W. Bush. Like he's not the person I would have chosen to replace Confederate statues personally. But if I had to choose between the two, I mean, he's not worse than those who fought against the United States government.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. How many Confederate statues are you bringing down?
Yeah. Look, Rafael Rodriguez said, slave owner racist or sex predator? Who knows? But all right, so I want to do, unless anybody else has something to say about this, I want to jump in here and go through Case's bookmarks of the week. And here's one bookmark that says from Progressive Soapbox, civil liberties groups push Biden administration to drop the case against Julian Assange. That's a article that's in the news, yahoo.com. Here is, and this is something I wanted to talk about real quick about the socialist in mayor in Buffalo who won her primary. And Chuck Schumer recently was asked why he didn't endorse, and he totally avoided the question. And then here's somebody else, DY, New York Democratic Party Chairman Jay Jacobs. He also basically did the same thing. He compared it to what he said. He said, let's take a scenario very different where David Duke, you remember him as the Grand Wizard of KKK. He moves to New York. He becomes a Democrat. He runs for mayor in the city of Rochester, which is a low primary turnout, and he wins the Democratic line. So basically, he's comparing her to a KKK wizard. Like, that's ridiculous, a socialist. So that's absolutely nuts. Okay, I did a poll this earlier today, and it said, should Bernie Sanders do a Build Back Better human infrastructure town hall in West Virginia and Arizona? And so far, 125 votes, 96%. Anybody has anything to say about that?
He should do it.
He should do the town hall. All right,
he should go live on Twitch.
I mean, Bernie. There was a picture of Bernie in Joe Manchin today, so
yeah. I did see that. Yeah.
I'm
Sass-
live minimum once a week, man, and anybody can join that stream. Like, yeah, I put my district first, but I'm making decisions that affect the whole country. I want anybody to be able to get on that action, like for sure.
Nice. So Armani, I just want to celebrate her real quick because she raised twice the amount of her incumbent, and we all know we call her PJ Armani because she's been on the show at least 4 or 5 times, so she's a PJ at this point, and she's also a People's Gauntlet candidate. And she raised twice the amount of money in the last what you guys, Sass and Juan, you call it like cycle, or is it by month?
It's just quarter.
Yes, yeah, quarter.
Okay, so she got twice as much in the last quarter than her incumbent. So I hope that trend continues and we see big things from Armani, our PJ Armani. All right.
Oh, congrats, Armani.
Yeah. So it's 9 o'clock. I can keep going.
She's doing the money phone.
Yeah. So much love to everybody. Let's give some love to the chat. Holly Horn, PJ Neat, Sterling W. Who else is it? Rafael Rodriguez. Thank you so much for coming through. Who else we got here? Much love to everybody.
All for nothing.
Yeah, all for nothing. Thank you for
Thank
coming,
you,
Robert
Super Chat
Wilson.
again.
See, Aaliyah, thank you so much, everybody. Any last words before we head out of here? Don't forget to check out JuanForCongress.com. Check out VoteForSass.com. These are our 2 candidates. You hear how they sound. They're so down to earth. Regular people. We need more regular people in office so that they don't say, "Oh, that's entitlement." Like what Joe Manchin said. I don't want to have an entitlement culture or something like that.
As he says that on his yacht.
From his yacht as a millionaire. You know, it's just absolutely ridiculous. All right, let's go around the horn for the last time. John, you got anything as we leave?
Hey, my Red Sox are winning. Juan, Sass, you guys are welcome back anytime to the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for spending your Monday with us.
Yeah.
And everyone, definitely check them out. Donate if you can. That would be great. And let's bring them to Congress.
Let's bring them to Congress. Carlito.
Yeah, 2 things. One, from the last conversation, you know, people say that when bringing down the statues is forgetting history, blah, blah, blah. I think we should do with the statues the same thing we should do with Clarence Thomas statues, put them in a museum where they belong. You know, you don't have to be in a place of prominence. Stick in a museum. Clarence Thomas could be in the back of the museum, the back of the bus, because he don't care about racism anyway. So you know, the second thing is,
go ahead.
You didn't let me have my intro. I want to say, everybody, it's the beginning of the NBA season. If you don't see me, I'm watching the Hawks or something. So go Hawks.
Yeah, my bad. Been known. Let me not be rude and kick you out.
Join us on Discord.
All right, to our guest, Juan.
Yeah, thank you, Case, for inviting me on. It's always a pleasure to be here. And also, if anybody enjoys what we were talking about before, about making voting more decentralized and giving the power to the people back, regardless. I mean, I'm gonna look into start voting. I haven't personally seen it, but it sounds interesting. I love learning more new things, and I'd love to see different ways how I can improve my specific policy. So I'm going to look into it. And if you want to see us in Congress to fight to bring the voice back to people and reduce the power of the moneyed aristocracy, then please donate if you can. I'm only taking individual donations, so it's going to be a hard battle to fight against Carlos Jimenez.
What's your website?
JuanForCongress.com. It can be with the 4 or FOR. Either one works.
Yeah, so Juan is from, just to answer a question in the chat, Juan is Florida District 26, and Sass is Texas District 1. You just said, right?
35.
Oh, 30. I'm sorry.
He went to the whole map and everything, bro. He showed everything. He went to the whole presentation.
Yo, like Bedon said, math is hard.
Hey, well,
I am Sass. Thank you so much for paying attention. I know we got into the weeds with that voting stuff. I talk about voting all the time. I'm super accessible. You can get at me publicly or privately. Just go to voteforsass.com. You can get to everything you need to find there, whether it's my social media, my policies, my platform, my YouTube, whatever. It's all there. Voteforsass.com. And now I got to raise $5,000 so I can get ready to register for the ballot. So please send me a couple bucks, whatever you can. Thank you so much. Peace out. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. Thank you to my crew. And if you stayed here from the beginning to the end, then you are a political junkie as well. See you next time, everybody. Adios. Peace. Next time, play us out, Bendon, with the music. Adios.